Here we go. Okay, we're going to be working on some finatr again. Kind of just getting everything set here. Go away. Cat has to be needy right now. Okay. So we are going to continue working on finatr. Let's see if we can. Oh my goodness, kitty. Alright, start. So we'll keep working on what we have been. Oh, wrong snap. Oh my. So we got stuck on this last time. We are, I don't know why the cat all of a sudden decides to need attention. That's how it works though, I guess. You can sit up here and you can watch. So we've been working on this transaction group, trying to group our transactions together and allow us to sort of build up a transaction built of many transactions. So we have this relationship going, which is a microstates function. And I just added in this. I think the reason this log wasn't working was because, okay, cat, come here. Wasn't working because we needed this, where every time we run a transaction, we refer to the root. So after this transaction group dot set, it goes back to the root. So we also need to go back to the transaction group again. Come on, kitty. So let's see if this is actually what we needed. Oh, budget, I believe. So it would be logging from transactions 122, which is the case. Hey, there we go. So that was it. We were doing the right thing before. We just missed one part of that object. So we're logging 122 right now. So this dot group name dot state should equal root for it to come through. Okay. So we've got utils.js is still logging. We could probably take that out because we were using that to. Oh my cat. Come on. Sometimes my control doesn't work. We were using all these logs to figure out why that was not logging out. Oh my kitty. Sit right there. Hey Tels, how's it going? How's the Gatsby stuff coming? You're doing some theme stuff, Tels? I assume. A little bit less budgeting and more cash flow analysis. So more future planning than budgeting. There's plenty of apps out there that do budgeting, and they do it as well as you can do it, really. But there's nothing that lets us plan out into the future. Oh my. I've got a needy kitty right now. Come on. So, whoop, apparently I broke it. Oh yeah, we ran into that before. That we ran into last time. Well, here, let's go to the main. So kind of the main component right now is this, where we've got, it'll plan out our balances based on all the transactions that we make. Oh my. Why are you so needy right now? Okay. She's sleeping all day, and then the moment I hit stream, she goes, needs all this attention. Okay, budget. So what we've been starting to work on is that we need a good way to get somebody from the idea of a budget into the cash flow thinking. So this component is what we're doing to start. That'll be the foundation to get to that point. All right. I know. Okay. Okay, so we've got example loaded. So we are here and we are logging out. This log works now. This still is not triggering, which is surprising. Let's do console.log this deck. So we're running the log method. We should expect to see that going now. So I assume it's undefined. So 122. Oh, here we go. Yep, now it's coming through. I wonder if we just didn't save before. or I might have just now noticed it. So we're getting the group name. So this will be the subgroups. So this is going to be an array of all the groups that we have. And the default right now is the one example that we have. But we don't have this right now. Does not deal with something that does not have a group. So if it doesn't have a group, we want to basically just exit out and return nothing. Because that's why the examples are currently breaking. So current transactions.group. So we'll say if current transaction.groups. So if that's not defined, then I think I'm going to have to change my hotkey. Because exclamation point is also my hotkey. We've got it working pretty decent, and it for the most part does exactly what I had done in a spreadsheet that I made and I've been using for quite a while, but it's gotten to the point where that becomes difficult to maintain, and I think it would be nice to have something like this out there in the world. Okay, so current transaction, so if it's not defined, then we just want to return unique groups. So hopefully that means that we can not have things crash. Okay. So this is just a dump of our state, basically. It's not hooked up to this new groups pieces. So I think we've got this working fine. We're gonna take this out. We've got this log working. Now we're logging the value and parent value. So here we see a, oh, not that one. What is that, 98? Okay. So groups doesn't have a value, which I think is fine. And it's just logging out the parent value, which would be this full piece. So what's this transaction group logged? Have. So we've got right now a group with all the expenses. So if we go into one of the examples that has more going on with it. So we're currently logging on nothing because we don't have any groups. So if we go ahead and add some groups there, we're going to eventually have to add in a form for somebody to fill this in, but for now, so group is always groups. Groups is always going to be an array. We want it to show up in paycheck. This one at least. Housing. So some of these groups and categories are going to match up one-to-one. We could probably put internet under housing. I think I would say student loans is debt. Groceries is a living expense. Going out is fun. Cell phone is probably a living expense. Fun. I would assume that goes under the fun group. True. I like that better than entertainment. It sounds better than fun. Entertainment. I don't think we do anything with the credit card payments for right now. We'll punt on those. But now that we got some groups in our example, let's try that. These are things that I do need to deal with at some point. Okay, so we've got a couple groups now. And each of those groups has the transactions, all of them. So we're going to need to filter out transactions to only fall within that group, which is what we can do here. So this will be console.log value. And let's see what we get for that. Which one is that? 108. And it's not logging out for us. Yeah, that's true. That's I think we're getting to the point where we have one level of groups working, but I do want to add multiple levels of groups because part of the idea behind doing these groups is that you could potentially do what-if scenarios, and a entertainment group might not change between your, or fun might not change between your different what-if scenarios, but if you're running a case where you want to see what cash flow looks like on renting versus buying a house, you could keep everything else the same and then just change that one group between them. So I think that makes sense to have sort of this nesting thing like you're talking about. Okay, why is our transactions not, oh, originally I was going to use a category, but the problem with category is that you can only have one of them. So the if you only have one category, it could only ever fall in one thing. But you could potentially say, well, I want the, so you might have, what's a good example? If we're grouping internet access under housing, you could have the exact same cost under if you're renting or if you're buying a house. So that would then potentially fall in either a rent group. It would fall into the rent group or the buying a house group. But something like home insurance might only fall under the buying a house, where renter's insurance would only fall under renting. Does that make sense? So some of those items could potentially fall into multiple groups, and then that overall group might show up in what if scenario number 1, but not scenario number 2. Kind of like tagging. It's like tagging a blog post as opposed to a category for a blog post. It gives you a bigger matrix of ways to combine things. Does that make sense, Tubbs? That's pretty much the best way I've been able to think about it, is sort of like tags in a blog post. So, so our group is working. We then need to, so we're running this determine unique, which will give us all the different groups. And then within there, we're setting all the transactions, but we want I suppose we could, I guess my assumption is that this relationship will trigger on this. So if we're setting the transactions, so this is like a recursive thing, which is kind of, I think it's unique to microstates as far as state libraries go. But groups is referring to this whole class. So it's an array of these classes. So we can have recursive nesting of things in here. But I assume that if we set the transactions, that would also trigger this. But it doesn't seem to. So if we just do this, to log out our transaction groups, what are we looking at? So we get the root, and we've got transactions. So the root should have all the groups within it too. Oh, actually, since we're doing value of, it's not going to work on the groups, because that basically destroys the relationship. So if we say the roots, this dot groups, that would give us, it will give us the groups, but then here we're not going to have, we basically would need to do a would we map over that, I guess? I can't remember if there's a for each or not. I think we ran into this last time too. Microstates. Types, array. So we've got push, pop, shift, sort, filter, map. There's a map, but that is a transaction. So I think we actually want the map function. So if we say map this dot groups, and then we can give it a function. So this would be I forget now how we do the map again. Actually, I think there's a docs for it. From map here. So it'll just give us a, so we'll say group. And then for each one of those, we can do console.log. Oh, I suppose we can just do this whole thing. Except this will be group. So I think that'll go out in log. Yeah, nope, I guess not. This group's object is not a function. Let's refresh, maybe it was just broken. Nope. Oh. It is lowercase. I think uppercase actually is the built-in map. Yep. Okay. Transactions 99. So we're still getting the groups. I'm gonna go ahead and comment that out for now. So we should be mapping over this dot groups. .168. Is that the? Nope. It's interesting that that map isn't working. Let's see what we do in the tests. I think we can use an iterator, or it's an iterable. We can use that. Where are those tests? So I think it's an iterable, so we can use that to our advantage. And I believe we do that in our tests. I'm not quite sure of the syntax offhand. Thought we did it in there. Maybe I got rid of it. Okay. We might just have to look at MDM for that. Iterable. So it's got this set, which means that we can iterate over it. use the I don't like the generator syntax. At least I don't know it well enough. But I thought there was like a for here. This is what I'm thinking of. For. Just go ahead and copy that. So I think we can just use this syntax. So for constant group of this dot groups, do this. Okay, we got logging. So this gives us the log for each one of our different groups. And it should then let us say of that group we want to see the groups. Okay. So we've got some nesting stuff going on, and it doesn't seem to be triggering on those transactions, so we might actually need to do that. We might need to do that filtering in here. In which case, I'm not sure what this transactions is actually going to be netting us. I know there's some so we can use the child to define the child relationship to pass the Atom path. Do they have any documentation about the child yet? No. So with this library, we're sort of on the edges of their documentation. We've gotten to the point where we are to the parts that they're still sort of filling out. Maybe it's in here. So some of this isn't super well documented. So we're using this relationship, but there's also a child. And it might be edge? I don't remember now. What let's see what we can turn up. So child. Let's put it under relationship actually, because it's kind of part of that. So you can define the child relationship to pass the atom and the path. Actually, it might be child at. They might have actually changed the name of that since child at. Well, let's just go ahead and try it. We'll see what happens. So child should be so I'm looking at this snippet here. So if we've got a class of an atom in the app, so app is a child of app. So app would be like our top level app model. Users. So we probably need to modify our top level stuff. We'll hold off with that for now. I don't want to get too in the weeds there. Okay, so why isn't our, well, I'm not quite sure why our transactions are not doing the relationship stuff as I would have expected, but I think what we'll do is we'll just filter it in this part. So here we're going to say this. So if it's a root, we're just going to do that. Otherwise, we're going to do that. And I think that'll give us the same. That'll give us the same function. Hopefully you can't hear that. Cat is scratching at the door. Okay. So we're getting an error. Cannot read property includes of undefined. So the transactions, we're going to filter on the transactions. Could you hear the cat? It sounds like she's gone away, so, you know, there's that, I guess. She sleeps all morning next to me, and then the moment I hit stream, she wants to be on top of me, which is not conducive to streaming. Okay, so we're filtering through the transactions. If transaction dot groups, I think it's groups actually. This is probably the issue. There we go. Yep. Okay, so now none of these have any transactions. So let's go ahead and say return. We'll log out some stuff here to see what we're missing. Transaction. And it's on line like 108. So transaction.groups is good. So if that includes the group name, Does includes not give back a boolean? I bet you that's what we have goofed up. Oh, it does. False. Is that correct? Parent value dot group name transaction dot group so we got the root, we have undefined, and we have false. So if it's the root, we just want to parent value dot group. Oh, it doesn't equal the root. That's what it is. Yeah. Wait. Parent value dot group name equals root. Then there we go. Okay, so we have things logging out. 7, 7, 7. So they're all still logging out all the groups. What is that, on 137? Okay, yep, so it's doing that. So it's logging out all the groups. Where do we got our console? Here. This is a little bit noisy, so we'll just comment that out. Okay. So paycheck still has all the transactions. So we only want to, we might have some grouped up in our filter still. So every one of these is undefined, which is interesting. Oh, because we did group again. I keep forgetting that S. There we go. Okay. So paycheck, true, true, those are all false. So that's what we would expect. So our filter should be returning should be returning correctly. I'm not quite sure what the issue is. Let's just get rid of a bunch of this. Okay, let's log out of this. Let's hold on log. Let's see if we are actually getting the array where, oh wait, yep. Yep. On line 100. So in this case, we've got transportation. So it seems it might be setting something. So our root is just returning all the transactions, which is fine, but then we need to, the groups within that seem to not be, we're setting the transactions, yeah, so it's not picking up this relationship for some reason. So this transactions is just not working how we're expecting it to. So it's actually setting this at the root. Oh. So we get, here we set the root, and we give it all the transactions. It will then determine all the unique and map over. So we should never actually be returning that. We should just be returning the filtered array. I bet you that's our issue. Maybe not. So now we don't have any, well, yeah, now we have no transactions listed. So there's something odd about this value. If we set the transactions, let's make sure we're not running into something odd with this relationship. Hey Max, how are you doing? Concentrating on dealing with this. I didn't see your message. So if we call this an array of transactions, I don't think this I can hear the cat again. I don't think this relationship here is working how I'm expecting it to. Yeah, so what we need to do is, so we're creating an array of transaction groups. So this is recursive. We determine, nice. Anybody want to become famous? We're returning a unique array of groups, and we map over those to create, to basically push each of our transactions, so these unique groups that we have. And in the unique group, we filter the transactions and make sure that that transaction group includes this group that we are concerned about. So before I was using the group parent values group name. This will probably end up being way more simple than I was expecting it to be. There we go. Okay. So paycheck has 2 transactions. I'm still not quite sure what's going on with this. I thought we'd be able to tackle that in this transactions, but I think we're going to scrap that for right now. I don't think we're doing that right. Let's go ahead and clean this up. Since we've got stuff working now, missing something. Relationship. There we go. Okay. And we're not using value. So we have at least one level of nesting. Now, what time we got? I would kind of like to do transactions computed here, which gives us a little bit more information. But we need to then loop this piece into here, which I don't think we're prepared to do yet. I believe we can switch this to this child relationship thing. Maybe let's give that a go real quick. And that might be all that we can get done today. So on the app level, we need to do a the app level, we need to do something like that. A child of so transactions is actually going to be a child of, so it's going to be related to the transactions, but really we want to say it's going to be a child of the transactions computed and so child of app. Yeah, I got that backwards. Let's save what we had before just in case. Okay, so transactions should be a child of app model. This might get weird because we're doing recursive importing. Or cyclical importing, I guess. Import. Do we even export it? I think we do. Yep. Import app model from that cat, I tell ya. From index. Guess we call everything else Dutch, yes. Yeah. Let's just make sure it's not some other error going on. Okay, so let's us do that. We have child defined. So if transactions is a child of app model, and app will be a so in so we've got a root app, we've got a users. Okay, so that's just a completely different thing. Oh, we need like a connecting one. Yeah, that's gonna get ugly for right now. Okay, so if we do can we get our transactions computed? Do structural engineering in my free time, I guess. Okay, so let's see if we can get the transactions computed, and then I think that's probably going to be what we're going to call it for the day. So we want to, this is returns a microstate with the transactions computed set. So that's this piece. So if categories are set, then we do this, or we do this. Do you all remember what category set does? Oh my goodness, cat. So we can say here, we'll do const transactions computed, I guess. Will be that. So from here we can then say this transactions is coming out of this dot state, so we can say this is going to look weird. Maybe I need to rename that variable. Oh my goodness. Oh. Get ready for break down the door. 15-pound thing. Okay. We'll finish this up, and then I think we're calling it a day. So we've got, we'll call it set, or maybe compute. Compute transactions. And this is going to give us our daily rate, which is, I think, important in this group stuff. It'll save us from having to recompute everything every time. So we're coming off of this group. It'll be transaction group set the root, and we're going to do that. And transactions computed. I don't know if we need to do state there. I guess we'll find out. So then we can do return group. Oh. So So these should be init. Init. So basically, this runs a transaction and gives us some new values. This runs a transaction and gives us some new values. And then finally we do this, and that will give us some new values. And essentially we're cascading multiple transactions together. Yep, I think we're gonna have to call .state on this. This .state. Yes, kitty. I know. Oh. Okay. So we're setting the transactions to be the transactions computed. Got all this cat hair floating around now. Compute transactions.state. Oh my gosh. I think this cat wants some attention, if you can't tell. Okay, 179. Yep. Is this, yep, going to give us the daily rate and everything? Yeah, okay. Oh my goodness. So I think that's right. We might need to just end it right there for now and say we'll figure out this transactions computed part next time. Because we're still getting cannot read property includes of undefined. So that'll be of the transaction dot, oh, that's because we have a array type of, no. So transaction computed extends transaction, of which it has a groups. So we should have a groups property. So for some reason it's just not. So if we just switch this to transactions, I think it would work. But for whatever reason, it's not when we use the computed version. Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to leave it at that. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. This cat is getting annoying, and it's time to go back to work. Let's see if there's anybody streaming right now. Can I? Oh my goodness. Let's see, is there anybody streaming? Not really. Insta fluff, I guess is. We can throw him a little bit of love. All right, I will see everybody later. Good to have you.